When you think of comic book villains, one face always rises above the rest. Pale white skin, bright red lips twisted into a grin, and that chilling laugh that never seems to end. He's more than just Batman's greatest enemy. He's chaos incarnate. The Joker is one of the most fascinating, disturbing, and strangely charismatic characters in all of fiction. But what most people don't know is that behind the makeup, the laugh, and the madness lies a history filled with unexpected twists, dark inspirations, and jaw-dropping secrets. So buckle up, because we're diving deep into the top 10 facts about the Joker that will make you see this clown prince of crime in a whole new light. Turn. The Joker wasn't supposed to last beyond one comic. Imagine this. The year is 1940. Batman is still a relatively new hero, having only been introduced about a year earlier. Comic creators Bill Finger, Bob Kane, and Jerry Robinson are brainstorming ways to expand Batman's world. They need villains, enemies who are as colorful and gripping as the hero himself. Enter the Joker. He, inspired by a playing card and a creepy photo of actor Conrad Veidt from the silent film The Man Who Laughs, the creators sketched out a villain with a sinister grin and a flair for the theatrical. But here's the kicker. He was supposed to be killed off almost immediately. In Batman #1, the Joker was intended as a one-time foe who dies in the same issue he debuts. The editors thought the character might be too dark, too grotesque, and perhaps even too terrifying for young readers. But fate had other plans. At the last moment, the ending was rewritten so that the Joker survived. Instead of lying dead, he was left injured and imprisoned, giving him the chance to return. That single editorial decision changed comic history forever. Think about it. If the Joker had been killed off in 1940, there would be no Joker in the classic cartoons of the 1990s. No Oscar-winning performance by Joaquin Phoenix, no legendary role for Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight. Pop culture as we know it would look completely different. And the wildest part? His survival came down to a last-minute change, almost like the character himself cheated death, laughing in the face of destiny. This story also reveals something fascinating about how comic book history often hinges on small, seemingly random choices. The Joker didn't start as a carefully planned icon. He was more of a happy accident, a character that audiences responded to in ways the creators didn't predict. From the very beginning, Joker embodied unpredictability. He wasn't supposed to stick around, and yet he's still here, over 80 years later, more alive in the cultural imagination than ever. The lesson here goes beyond comics. Sometimes the things that weren't meant to last, the experiments, the accidents, the let's try it and see ideas, end up shaping entire generations. The Joker is living proof of that principle, or maybe we should say, laughing proof. Number 9. The Joker doesn't have a definitive origin story. Every great hero has an origin tale. Batman saw his parents gunned down in Crime Alley. Superman rocketed from Krypton as his planet exploded. Spider-Man was bitten by a radioactive spider. These stories are neat, clear, and unchanging. But the Joker, his past is a mystery wrapped in contradictions. And that's one of the most fascinating things about him. Over the years, writers have toyed with many different explanations for how the Joker became the way he is. One of the most famous is that he was a failed comedian who turned to crime, fell into a vat of chemicals at Ace Chemicals, and emerged with chalk-white skin, green hair, and a permanent grin. This version gained traction thanks to the 1988 graphic novel The Killing Joke by Alan Moore, which gave us the haunting backstory of a man just trying to support his pregnant wife, only to suffer one tragedy after another before his transformation into the Joker. But here's where it gets tricky. Even in The Killing Joke, the Joker himself admits that his past might not be what we just saw. In his own words, "If I'm going to have a past, I prefer it to be multiple choice." That one line became the defining truth about the Joker. His origin doesn't really matter, and maybe he doesn't even know it himself. This ambiguity makes the Joker stand apart from every other villain. It's not about where he came from, but about what he represents: chaos, randomness, and the idea that anyone could fall into madness if pushed far enough. His lack of a definitive backstory has also given writers and filmmakers creative freedom to reinvent him for each generation. That's why Jack Nicholson's gangster Joker, Heath Ledger's anarchist Joker, and Joaquin Phoenix's mentally unstable loner Joker can all exist and still feel true to the character. Each interpretation fills in the blanks in a different way, and audiences respond to that mystery. Think about it. People love to debate who the Joker really is, where he came from, and what events led him to become the most feared villain in Gotham. It's like an unsolved puzzle that keeps fans hooked. Imagine if we had a crystal-clear answer. It would rob the character of his mystique. Instead, by keeping his past vague and contradictory, the Joker remains endlessly fascinating. It's a storytelling technique that Hollywood has learned well. In horror movies, the scariest monsters are often the ones we don't fully understand. The less you know, the more your imagination fills in the gaps. The Joker works the same way. By never giving us certainty, he forces us to sit with the uncomfortable idea that some evil doesn't have a neat explanation. It just is. This idea resonates deeply in American culture, where we've seen real-world criminals and cult figures emerge seemingly out of nowhere, their lives leaving us with more questions than answers. The Joker taps into that same unsettling mystery, reminding us that behind every smiling mask might lie a story we'll never fully know. Year 8. The Joker once had his own sidekick, Harley Quinn. When you think of the Joker, it's impossible not to picture him alongside a certain mischievous partner in crime, Harley Quinn. But what's surprising is that Harley didn't start out in the comics at all. She was born on TV. In 1992, Batman, the animated series, introduced her as a one-off character, a quirky, jester-themed accomplice to the Joker. The writers never expected her to last. Sound familiar? That was the same way the Joker himself started out. Harley quickly became more than just background. Audiences loved her manic energy, her Brooklyn accent, and the bizarre romance between her and the Joker. Within a few years, she transitioned into the official comic book universe, cementing her place as one of the most popular DC characters of all time. What makes this fact so fascinating is how Harley completely changed the Joker's mythos. Before Harley, the Joker was a solo agent of chaos. He worked alone, schemed alone, and laughed alone. But Harley added a new layer. Suddenly, we saw him in a relationship, one that was as twisted and toxic as his own mind. He manipulated her, abused her, and yet somehow she adored him. Their dynamic highlighted the Joker's manipulative brilliance and painted him as even more dangerous. It wasn't just Gotham that he corrupted, it was the hearts of those closest to him. Of course, over time, Harley grew beyond Joker's shadow. She became an independent anti-hero, starring in her own comics, video games, and blockbuster films. But her origin as the Joker AS sidekick is a reminder of how one character can expand the dimensions of another. The Joker's story isn't just about Batman anymore, it's about the people who orbit around his madness. In many ways, Harley Quinn mirrors real-world stories of toxic relationships, where one partner dominates, manipulates, and gaslights the other. Fans in the United States connected to her not just as a comic book figure, but as a symbol of breaking free from abuse. By leaving the Joker and carving her own path, Harley embodies empowerment. And yet, the Joker remains etched into her DNA as the one who pulled her into the madness in the first place. It's a brilliant storytelling twist. The Joker, who was never supposed to last, ends up spawning another character who wasn't supposed to last. Together, they became one of pop culture's most unforgettable duos. Number 7. The Joker killed Robin, and fans voted for it. One of the darkest chapters in Joker ES history came in 1988 with the storyline A Death in the Family. By this time, Batman had a new Robin, Jason Todd, a street-smart but hot-headed teenager who had taken up the mantle after Dick Grayson became Nightwing. Fans, however, were divided. Many readers thought Jason was reckless, annoying, and lacked the charm of the original Robin. DC decided to do something radical. They let the fans decide his fate. The setup was simple. In the story, the Joker brutally beats Jason Todd with a crowbar and leaves him in a warehouse rigged with explosives. At the end of the comic, readers were given a phone number to call. One line was for saving Jason, the other for killing him. Over 10,000 fans dialed in, and by a razor-thin margin of just 72 votes, the decision was made. Jason Todd would die. The next issue shocked the comic world. The Joker's explosives detonated, killing Robin and cementing one of the darkest acts in comic history. For Batman, it was a devastating blow, pushing him deeper into his obsession and guilt. For the Joker, it was his ultimate victory, proof that he could wound the Dark Knight not just physically but emotionally. What makes this fact even wilder is how interactive it was. Fans literally had blood on their hands. In the United States, news outlets covered the story, marveling at how a comic book had blurred the lines between fiction and reality by letting the audience choose whether a teenager lived or died. It became one of the earliest examples of interactive storytelling, decades before Netflix or video games would popularize the concept. The ripple effects didn't stop there. Jason Todd eventually returned years later as the vigilante Red Hood, a darker, more violent figure shaped by his death and resurrection. But his murder at the Joker AS hands remains one of the most infamous acts of villainy in any medium. It showed that the Joker wasn't E.T. just a prankster or a clown. He was capable of crossing lines that left permanent scars. For American readers at the time, this storyline felt especially intense. The late 1980s were a period when comics were growing darker, mirroring the cynicism of the culture. Movies like RoboCop and Die Hard were pushing action and violence to new extremes. Against this backdrop, the Joker murdering Robin felt like comics officially entering the same gritty territory. And here's the kicker. Decades later, people still argue about whether it was right to kill Jason Todd. Some fans believe the Joker's credibility as a villain skyrocketed after he killed Robin. Others think it was too cruel, even for a fictional world. But one thing is certain. It cemented the Joker as Batman's deadliest enemy and gave us one of the most unforgettable comic book moments of all time. The Joker's legacy isn't built on small crimes or throwaway gimmicks. It's built on the shocking, the unexpected, and the deeply personal. With Harley Quinn, he gained a partner who reflected the twisted nature of his character. With Robin's death, he forever scarred Batman and forced fans to question just how far they were willing to let their villains go. These stories prove that the Joker isn't just a character on a page. He's a cultural event, one capable of shaking readers, viewers, and audiences to their core. Leagues. Heath Ledger's Joker changed Hollywood forever. In 2008, audiences around the world crowded into theaters to see The Dark Knight. What they witnessed wasn't just another superhero movie, it was a cultural earthquake. At the center of it all was Heath Ledger's Joker, a performance so raw, so terrifying, and so mesmerizing that it redefined what a comic book villain could be. Before Ledger, the Joker had been portrayed in various ways. Cesar Romero's campy trickster in the 1960s TV show, Jack Nicholson's mobster clown in Tim Burton's 1989 film. But Ledger transformed him into something far darker, a force of chaos who was motivated by money, revenge, or even hatred. His Joker just wanted to watch the world burn. Ledger prepared for the role in a way that has become legend. He locked himself in a hotel room for weeks, filling notebooks with the Joker's ramblings, experimenting with the voice, and studying real-world criminals and anarchists. The result was a Joker who felt frighteningly real, like someone who could exist on the streets of New York or Chicago. His greasy green hair, smeared makeup, and chilling lip-licking mannerisms weren't just costume choices. They were signals of a man who lived entirely outside the rules of society. Audiences in the United States were stunned. This wasn't the flashy Joker of comic panels or cartoons. This was a villain who tapped into the fears of a post-9/11 world, a terrorist without ideology, striking randomly and leaving cities in panic. He was unpredictable, unstoppable, and disturbingly charismatic. In a time when Americans were watching news stories of real chaos, Ledger's Joker hit a nerve. The performance earned Ledger a posthumous Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor, the first time a superhero movie had been honored at that level. It was proof that comic book films could be serious art, not just popcorn entertainment. Hollywood took notice. After The Dark Knight, studios started pouring money and talent into darker, more complex superhero films. Without Ledger's Joker, the modern superhero genre might look completely different. But there's also a tragic side to this story. Ledger died at the age of 28 before the film was released, leading many to wonder if the intensity of the role contributed to his struggles. While his family denied this theory, the myth persisted, adding another layer of haunting mystery to the character. In the minds of fans, Heath Ledger and the Joker became forever linked. A brilliant actor who gave everything to bring chaos to life and left too soon. Ledger's Joker left behind more than a performance. He left a legacy. Even today, when new actors step into the role, they are inevitably compared to him. Did they capture the menace, the unpredictability, the unnerving charisma? That's the standard Ledger set. He didn't just change the Joker. He changed the entire landscape of cinema. Number 5. The Joker has been played by more actors than almost any other villain. Few characters in history have been portrayed by as many talented actors as the Joker. He's not tied to one face or one style. Instead, he morphs with each generation, each culture, and each interpretation. That's part of why he endures. The journey started with Cesar Romero in the 1960s Batman TV series. Romero's Joker was campy, over the top, and fun, perfect for the colorful world of Adam West's Batman. He even refused to shave his mustache for the role, simply painting white makeup over it, which somehow made him even more iconic. Fast forward to 1989, and Jack Nicholson brought his own flavor. Part gangster, part lunatic. His Joker was stylish, dangerous, and unforgettable. Nicholson's grin, combined with Tim Burton's gothic style, made him a cultural sensation. For years, many considered his performance the definitive Joker. Then came Mark Hamill, who most people knew as Luke Skywalker, in Batman. The animated series, Hamill's voice acting created a Joker that fans adored. His laugh, ranging from playful to bone-chilling, became legendary. For a whole generation of Americans, Hamill's voice is the Joker. We already talked about Heath Ledger, whose gritty, anarchist take in The Dark Knight became historic. But he wasn't the end. Jared Leto took on the role in Suicide Squad, 2016, giving audiences a heavily stylized, tattooed version. While controversial, it proved just how malleable the character was. Then, Joaquin Phoenix stunned the world in 2019 with Joker, earning an Academy Award for Best Actor by exploring the Joker's descent into madness in a grim, realistic drama. What's fascinating is that every version of the Joker feels like a different truth. Romero's clown, Nicholson's mobster, Hamill's voice, Ledger's terrorist, Leto's gangster, Phoenix's loner, they all fit because the Joker doesn't have one definitive identity. He's chaos, and chaos can wear many masks. This variety also mirrors America's shifting culture. In the optimistic 1960s, the Joker was silly and fun. In the darker late 1980s, he became violent and menacing. After 9/11, he turned into a terrorist-like figure. In the 2010s, as society grappled with mental health and social alienation, Phoenix's Joker became a tragic anti-hero. Each performance reflects the fears and fascinations of its time. The fact that so many acclaimed actors have stepped into the role also speaks to its power. Hollywood doesn't treat the Joker as just another villain. Playing him is considered a career-defining opportunity, a challenge that allows actors to push themselves into dangerous, unpredictable territory. That's why so many fans eagerly debate which Joker is the best. It's like comparing different masterpieces of the same subject. In the end, the Joker is less of a fixed character and more of a canvas. Each actor paints their own version, and together they create a gallery of chaos that has entertained, shocked, and disturbed audiences for more than 8 decades. The Joker isn't a static villain. He evolves, adapts, and reflects the world around him. Heath Ledger's performance changed the way Hollywood viewed superhero films, setting a new standard for depth and seriousness. Meanwhile, the fact that so many actors have portrayed him shows just how endlessly fascinating and flexible the character is. Whether he's a clown, a gangster, a terrorist, or a loner, the Joker always manages to hold up a dark mirror to society and to ourselves. Number 4. The Joker once became the emperor of the world in the comics. When you think of the Joker, you picture Gotham City, its alleys, its rooftops, its endless struggle between him and Batman. But in the comics, there was a time when the clown prince of crime reached far beyond Gotham. In one storyline, he didn't just want to blow up a building or outsmart the Dark Knight. He wanted the entire world, and he actually got it. In the 1990s storyline Emperor Joker, Superman villains and Batman villains collided in one of the strangest, most unsettling tales ever written. The plot begins with the Joker somehow stealing nearly unlimited power from the cosmic villain Mr. Aztok, a trickster god who can bend reality at will. With that power, the Joker became essentially omnipotent. And what did he do with it? He remade the entire world in his own chaotic image. He killed and resurrected people on a whim. He tortured Batman endlessly, trapping him in cycles of death and rebirth just for the fun of it. He turned heroes into grotesque versions of themselves, reshaped cities, and ruled over everything as if the universe were his private playground. This wasn't the Joker pulling off bank heists or poisoning Gotham's water supply, and this was Joker as a god, and the results were terrifying. The storyline shocked comic fans because it forced everyone to ask, what if the Joker wasn't limited by resources, weapons, or Batman's interference? What if his chaos had no leash? The answer was horrifying. Entire nations crumbled under his whim. Time and space bent like paper. Even Superman, the symbol of hope, was powerless. For American readers, the story felt like a surreal nightmare, mixing dark humor with apocalyptic terror. It also highlighted one of the Joker's most frightening qualities. He doesn't have an end goal. Most villains, even the biggest ones, have a plan. Lex Luthor wants power. Darkseid wants domination. But the Joker, with unlimited power, didn't build an empire or seek wealth. He just caused endless suffering because he could. In the end, Batman's resilience helped undo the Joker's godhood, but the story left a lasting mark. It proved that the Joker isn't just Batman's enemy. He is potentially the universe's greatest threat. When given absolute power, he didn't use it to bring order, he used it to unleash absolute chaos. That contrast made the tale unforgettable. Number 3. The Joker has won awards outside of comics. How often does a comic book villain step out of the pages and earn accolades usually reserved for the greatest films and performances in Hollywood? That's exactly what happened with the Joker. Not once, but multiple times, the character has earned Academy Awards, cementing his place as one of the most respected fictional villains in entertainment history. We've already mentioned Heath Ledger, who posthumously won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor in 2009. But a decade later, Joaquin carried the Joker to even greater heights. His film, Joker, 2019, wasn't just another superhero spin-off. It was a dark, character-driven drama about a man named Arthur Fleck who spirals into madness in a society that ignores and rejects him. The film turned the Joker into the centerpiece of a standalone story, blending themes of mental illness, poverty, and alienation with one of the most recognizable villains ever created. Phoenix's performance stunned critics and audiences alike. He lost weight, crafted unsettling mannerisms, and delivered a portrayal that was both disturbing and heartbreaking. His Joker wasn't a cartoonish villain. He was a reflection of real-world struggles, the kind you might see in news headlines about mental health crises in America. The film struck a nerve, and Phoenix won the Academy Award for Best Actor, making the Joker the only character in history to earn 2 different actors' Oscars for playing him. That achievement is unprecedented. Villains rarely get that kind of recognition. Usually, it's the heroes who win awards, the inspirational figures who carry uplifting stories. But the Joker flipped the script. He proved that a villain could be just as compelling, just as deserving of artistic respect as any hero. In the United States, the success of Joker sparked huge cultural debates. Some saw it as a brilliant critique of social inequality and the neglect of mental illness. Others feared it glorified violence or might inspire copycats. Regardless of where people stood, one thing was undeniable. The Joker had once again forced society to look in the mirror. He wasn't just entertainment. He was conversation, controversy, and art. Beyond the Oscars, the Joker has won other accolades too. He is consistently ranked as one of the greatest villains of all time by outlets like Empire Magazine, IGN, and Rolling Stone. His appearances in animated shows have earned Emmy Awards. Even his comic arcs, like The Killing Joke and Death of the Family, have won critical acclaim. Think about that. A character who was supposed to die in his very first comic issue now holds a place in Hollywood history and global culture. The Joker isn't just Batman's enemy. He's an icon recognized far outside the comic book world. And the fact that he has Academy Awards to his name makes him not just a legendary villain, but one of the most celebrated fictional characters of all time. 2. The Joker once became Batman. It sounds impossible, right? The Joker, the sworn enemy of the Dark Knight, actually stepping into the cowl and becoming Batman himself. Yet in the bizarre and unpredictable world of DC Comics, that's exactly what happened. In the storyline Batman Endgame, 2014-2015, the Joker returned deadlier than ever. He had discovered a chemical called Dionysium, tied to the Lazarus Pits, which granted him near immortality. He became scarier, crueler, and seemingly unstoppable. During his final battle with Batman beneath Gotham, both of them were crushed under tons of rubble. For a moment it seemed like they had perished together, ending their eternal war. But comics never end so neatly. Later, in Scott Snyder's Dark Knight's Metal Arc and other spin-offs, alternate universes showed us what would happen if roles were reversed. One of the most shocking creations was The Batman Who Laughs, a fusion of Batman and the Joker. In this twisted world, Batman was infected with a toxin from the Joker at the moment of his death. Instead of resisting, Bruce Wayne transformed, taking on the Joker's sadism while retaining Batman's intelligence and training. The result? A nightmare villain who was both the world's greatest detective and its most sadistic madman. The Batman Who Laughs became so popular that he spun off into multiple series, symbolizing what happens when justice and chaos merge into one terrifying figure. He wore a spiked visor, commanded legions of twisted Robins, and represented the darkest possible version of Batman. For American comic fans, this was an electrifying idea. What if the line between Batman and Joker was thinner than we thought? After all, Batman himself has always been haunted by darkness. His obsession, his paranoia, his willingness to break the law to fight crime, they echo some of the Joker's traits. The Batman Who Laughs was the ultimate expression of that fear, that deep down the difference between them might be only one bad day, just as the Joker always claimed. This storyline made fans reconsider both characters. It asked disturbing questions about morality, obsession, and the fragility of sanity, and it showed, once again, that the Joker isn't confined to one role. He doesn't just oppose Batman, sometimes he is Batman. Number 1. The Joker has no limits, and that's why he's eternal. When you list all the things the Joker has done, survived his own death sentence in his first comic, gained an origin story that may not even be real, murdered Robin, abused Harley Quinn, transformed into a god, won Academy Awards, and even merged with Batman, you start to realize something. The Joker has no limits. That's the number one fact you need to know about him. Unlike most villains, the Joker is not bound by consistency. He can be funny, terrifying, tragic, or larger than life. He can exist in campy 1960s television shows and in R-rated modern films that win Oscars. He can be a cartoon voice one decade and a gritty anarchist the next. He can make audiences laugh, shudder, and cry, all at the same time. This limitless nature is what has kept him alive for over 80 years. Every generation reinvents him to reflect its fears and obsessions. In the 1940s, he was a creepy clown burglar. In the 1980s, he was a dark and violent killer. In the 2000s, he became a symbol of terrorism and chaos. In the 2010s, he embodied alienation and mental illness. And tomorrow? Who knows? The Joker can become whatever society needs him to be. That's why actors keep lining up to play him, writers keep reimagining him, and audiences never get tired of him. He isn't just a villain, he's a cultural mirror. He reflects our anxieties, our darkness, and our fascination with madness. And because he has no limits, he will never fade away. In many ways, the Joker represents a uniquely American archetype, the trickster. Just like real-world figures who shake up the system, who refuse to play by the rules, who expose hypocrisy with cruelty and humor, the Joker lives on because he embodies something universal. He terrifies us, but he also fascinates us. He makes us laugh, but he also makes us uncomfortable. He has no single identity, and that's exactly why he endures. So, the number one fact about the Joker is this: he's eternal. You can't kill him, you can't define him, and you can't predict him. He will always come back, grinning, laughing, and ready to plunge Gotham and us into chaos all over again. And there you have it. The top 10 facts about the Joker, the clown prince of crime who was never supposed to last, but who became one of the most iconic figures in pop culture. From surviving his first comic, to killing Robin, to inspiring Harley Quinn, to winning Oscars and even becoming Batman himself, the Joker has proven that he's not just a villain, he's a legend. But here's the thing, the Joker isn't just about Batman, Gotham, or DC Comics, he's about us. He reflects our fears, our questions, and our fascination with the edge between sanity and madness. That's why no matter how many decades pass, no matter how many actors take on the role, the Joker will always come back to haunt us with that grin and that laugh. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button and share it with your friends who love exploring the darkest corners of comic history. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss more deep dives into the legends of pop culture. And let us know in the comments, which version of the Joker is your favorite? The debate will never end, and maybe that's exactly how the Joker would want it.